The Subpoena-Proof Firewall. Google just handed the encryption keys for its newest European data clusters to local third-party trustees, effectively stripping the United States Department of Justice of its ability to subpoena foreign data. This move, finalized in late June 2026, isn't about privacy ethics. It is a calculated surrender of control designed to unlock billions in frozen government contracts. For years, the U.S. Cloud Act gave federal agencies a backdoor to any data held by an American company, regardless of where the server sat. By creating these sovereign islands where Google employees literally cannot access the hardware, they are building a legal firewall that the U.S. government cannot cross. And the regulatory arbitrage behind this move is even more expensive than it looks. High cost of regulatory compliance. The strategy centers on Google Distributed Cloud, a product that essentially ships a miniaturized version of their global infrastructure into a customer's private basement. In the European Union, Google has partnered with local giants like T-Systems and Thales to act as the jurisdictional gatekeepers. These partners own the physical security and the top-level credentials, making Google a mere software vendor in its own environment. This is a massive departure from the centralized model that built the company, and the operational overhead is enormous. However, with the EU cloud market projected to hit $150 billion this year, Alphabet is betting that high OpEx is better than 0% market share in the public sector. The next phase of this strategy is moving from regulatory compliance in Europe to power preservation in the Middle East. The Riyadh air-gapped Gambit. In Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, Google's sovereign AI play is about air-gapped autonomy rather than just legal compliance. The recently activated Riyadh AI Hub allows the kingdom to run massive Gemini models on local hardware without a single byte of data traversing the public internet. This isn't just about latency. It is about offering a version of AI that is completely immune to Western sanctions or oversight. While Google's press releases talk about regional growth, the actual P&L shows a pivot towards selling specialized, high-margin hardware stacks that lock these governments into the Google ecosystem for the next decade. It is a classic hardware-software bind disguised as a geopolitical favor. This fragmentation of the global stack has a specific cost that the market is currently ignoring. The signal under the noise. The fragmentation of the global cloud into these sovereign data residencies marks the end of Google's era of low-cost, centralized scaling. By building these no-subpoena zones in Europe and the Middle East, Google is trading its traditional high margins for a guaranteed seat at the table in the world's most regulated markets. This shift suggests that the era of the borderless internet is officially over for enterprise services, replaced by a balkanized infrastructure where legal geography matters more than compute efficiency. For operators and investors, this means watching the capital expenditure line closely, as these localized regions are far more expensive to maintain than the massive, shared data centers of the past decade. The real test comes when a U.S. federal court issues a warrant for data held within a German sovereign partition, forcing Google to choose between a contempt of court charge at home or a total collapse of its international credibility. Watch the Q3 earnings call for updates on the sovereign-specific operating margins to see if this trade-off is actually paying off. Subscribe for more